G'day YouTube, my name is Gruntly and today we will be asking the question, is Call of the Wild worth your time? I also like to think that this video will be my review of the state of the game in 2021. All you need to do right now though is sit back, relax and enjoy. In this video, I will be breaking down different aspects of the game in an attempt to determine an answer for our question. I have broken down this review down into 4 important parts to understand the value that Call of the Wild has in 2021. I'll be looking into the visuals and sound, the community, the overall gameplay, and the DLC. By looking into these, I'll be able to communicate across the pros and cons that Call of the Wild has, and hopefully whether or not it's worth playing in 2021. From the moment you first log into Leighton Lakes, you are greeted with a landscape that is vast and full of beauty, ready for you to explore. And although the game is now 4 years old, it still looks really good, and EW has definitely managed to get the most out of the Apex engine. These top tier graphics are consistent throughout every single reserve. I also find that if I ever get bored of hunting through a North American forest, I can always switch it up and go to a whole new landscape. These landscapes range from snowy tundras, sun-kissed savannas, Spanish vineyards, to even the progressive weather of the Yukon Valley, which changes from sun to snow. Although absolutely gorgeous, there are a few assets that aren't placed correctly, and past patches have known to introduce glitches to the landscape, such as disappearing roads. The reserves within Call of the Wild are however always going to have hundreds of hours of exploration for their players, and if you ever do get bored of looking for animals, you can always look for your next wallpaper with a great photo mode. Animals in the game look just as good as the landscape for the most part, and it's always a pleasure watching animals behave like they would in the real world. Every landscape has a diverse range of animals. However, I do have to comment that with every reserve that has been introduced, there is always at least 1 or 2 animals that we've already seen. A lot of these new animals just seem to have been resized and reskinned from old animals, which does lessen the excitement that I've had for the past few content updates. EW a while ago implemented Trurax, which has meant that all animals now have a random set of antlers. This has definitely made hunting diamonds a more enjoyable, refreshing experience, as you never know what your next trophy might look like. Call of the Wild launched only with a handful of weapons, but this has increased incredibly with a multitude of different rifle and handgun calibers, a variety of shotguns, crossbows, and a whole range of different bows from traditional to compound. It's great to have so much choice when it comes to weapons when playing, but most players tend to stick to 3 different weapons to cover most of the animals that they are pursuing. If you are one to experiment with different choices and different hunting styles, Call of the Wild definitely caters to your needs, which you will appreciate. The audio in Call of the Wild is really something, whether it's in the music or the games menu or the ambient sounds from birds or trees rustling against each other. EW has done a really good job of incorporating all of this audio into the game. The big issue with this audio, however, is that there does seem to be quite a few issues surrounding it. This could be in the form of audio just not playing when you fire a gun, or animal noises like a lion growling not going away even after you've harvested the animal. Hopefully EW will be able to fix this sooner rather than later, because the music and sound in the game is amazing when it is working. Overall, the community in Call of the Wild is very welcoming and loves to share their hunting stories and trophies, which creates an environment that you just want to be a part of. Speaking of community, I just want to say a big thank you for all the love you've given me on the Australian map concept video, and you even helped me hit 400 subscribers. If you are watching right now and would love to help the channel grow, please consider liking and commenting on this video and subscribing to the channel. Alright, back to the video. As of this video, there are a total of 30 DLC releases for Call of the Wild. My first comment about this is that you can definitely play Call of the Wild without buying DLC, as you actually have access to all the reserves when you join a multiplayer lobby. This is really cool as it allows you to play with friends on the latest maps, even if you aren't able to or don't want to purchase the DLC. It would be completely understandable if you don't want to buy the DLC, because even though there are a few free pieces of content available, buying all of the DLC would set you back over $125. This is extremely expensive for new players to consider purchasing after they just bought a $24 game. This is easily negated, however, as you can either purchase the 2019 or the 2021 version of the game, which include DLC, or even wait for sales, as Call of the Wild seems to be going on sale every season, or at least that's how it feels. And now we have the gameplay. In short, the gameplay could use some work. The game most of the time seems to work fine, but there are definitely a multitude of game ruining glitches that you can find evidence of all over Reddit, YouTube, and even the Hunter Discord. Something to consider though is that EW have now altered their roadmap to fix these issues over adding new content, which is great to hear, and hopefully these issues will be patched out of the game soon on both PC and console versions. Speaking of PC and console, there has always been a historical advantage of playing on PC. These advantages range from performance to even content. The console versions of these games have unfortunately had a lot of their content drops delayed, whilst PC is released sometimes months earlier. With this new roadmap, the community does hope to see that this difference between console and PC is ironed out for the next content release. What is really good to see about the game is that with the range of weapons and hunting styles, that you would think that one of them would be considered the meta. Although some are considered better than others, there are disadvantages like spooking more animals or being that little bit slower. Even though Call of the Wild isn't a competitive game, the game is very balanced and every weapon is fun to use and is definitely a viable option. Overall, Call of the Wild has definitely had its ups and downs like most games, but I'm hopeful that these downs will be patched out in the near future. I would definitely say that Call of the Wild is still worth your time in 2021, although I would wait until the next sale to pick it up. Right now, Call of the Wild can be considered a beautiful mess, but once it's cleaned up, it'll most definitely be worth your time, whether it's in 2021 or beyond.